Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashely Liliana, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing what you need to know about traveling to Chile as a tourist during a pandemic, some tips, and also at the end there will be a short travel day vlog that I just want to share with you. So a little background, I am now here in Santiago de Chile. I'm very excited. For those of you who don't know, I lived here from 2019 to 2020 and I'm just excited and happy to be here at a place that is dear to my heart and feels like home, and I am grateful to be filming this video from here. So let's get started. So traveling to Chile during a pandemic. So you can enter Chile right now as a tourist and you can stay up to 90 days with a tourist visa. To enter the country, there are three things that you need that are required. So the first thing you need is a negative PCR test taken 72 hours before your final flight. The second thing that you need is health insurance or proof of health insurance that shows it covers COVID health-related costs. And the third thing that you need is to fill out the health affidavit. So those are the three things that you need in order to enter Chile. Of course, you need your passport and all that stuff. But I want to break down just a few things and tips and things to keep in mind for each different one. So the first thing that you need is a negative COVID test. You need the PCR COVID test. So Chile does not accept the rapid test that some places offer, which are the ones that you get the results back within like 10 to 30 minutes. Those are not accepted. So it has to be a PCR test, and those are the ones that take usually around 3 days. And it has to be 72 hours before your final flight. So what does that mean? If you have multiple layovers, it's 72 hours from the last flight that you board to come to Chile. So for example, my flight path was, I left from JFK to Atlanta and then from Atlanta to Santiago. My PCR test had to be 72 hours from 7:54 p.m. So 7:54 p.m. Thursday was my final flight. So 3 days before that meant Monday 7:54 was 72 hours. So some places don't open that late, things to kind of keep in mind. I was able to get my PCR test done on Tuesday and I got it back before my flight on Thursday. The second thing you need is proof of health insurance. So if your health insurance at home covers COVID health-related costs overseas, then that's something that you can use. But you have to make sure that you have a document that says from your health insurance or the travel insurance that you buy that covers health-related costs. So I used Trawick International, and the plan that I used from them was Safe Travels Voyager. And what I liked about that particular plan and them is that they just provided like a visa letter, and the letter basically said that it covers health-related cost, and the minimum was also listed on there. So my minimum, I have it here, was $250,000. The minimum is $30,000, so make sure it's above that. And I paid around $60 a month for this. So for 3 months, I'm paying a total of $180. So make sure whether it's your health insurance at home or whatever, or you're buying another one, there has to be just some sort of documentation that does say that COVID-19 health costs are covered and the minimum is $30,000 or more. And the last document that you need is you need to fill out a health affidavit. And so what this health affidavit is, it's basically a form from the government that you have to provide all of your personal information, where you're staying once you arrive in country, how long you're staying, personal information, contact information, your flight information, all of that goes in there. But the thing to keep in mind is that it has to be filled out 48 hours from the time that you arrive. So it's not like the 72 hours from your final flight, but 48 hours from when you arrive. So I arrived Friday, February 5th at 7 a.m. So I could fill out my health affidavit from Wednesday, 7 a.m., right? 48 hours before. Here are some tips for you when it comes to that. I filled mine out on Wednesday around 8 p.m. And I filled out all of my information, but the one thing I didn't have to fill out was my seat number. I was flying Delta and I chose to have my seat number given at check-in because I just didn't want to pay extra to have the option to choose my seat number online. So I was like, I'll just wait. And so what I did instead was I put in a 0 for my seat number. And when I got to Chile and they were reviewing all of my documents, they noticed that I put a 0 for my seat number, and they looked at my boarding pass and they said it's not the same. And I said, oh, I didn't have it at the time, so I just put it in a 0, and they were fine with it, but I had to refill it once I was there. I also made a mistake. I put flight 146 instead of flight 147, and they check all of that. So you have to make sure that all of your personal information, your flight information, where you're staying, everything is accurate and correct when you're filling it in, because when you get to Chile and they're going through, they will check all that information, and if it's incorrect, you will have to refill the health affidavit, and that adds another 20 to 30 minutes maybe, depending how long it takes to your wait time. And so trust me, just make sure that you have all of your information accurately put in, or that you wait to get your seat number or whatever it is, so you can kind of save that extra 30 minutes. And trust me, those extra 30 minutes mean something, because I don't know other people's experience, but when I arrived, the line that I had to wait on was about 3 hours, just for the health check, where they check all of your documents before you go to immigration and to customs. And so just make sure all that information is accurate. So just to kind of resume that, the 3 things that you need are your negative PCR test, you need to fill out your health affidavit, and you need proof of health insurance that covers COVID-related health costs. The link where it kind of explains everything that you need, I will also leave it down below. That's what I used to kind of gather all the information, to kind of figure out what I needed to get and when I needed to get it. But hopefully this video helps. One thing to keep in mind that everyone has to do when they enter Chile, whether you are a resident, a citizen, or a tourist, you need to complete a 10-day quarantine no matter what. So when you arrive in Chile, you have 24 hours to reach your final destination. So if Santiago is not your final destination, you have 24 hours from that to reach your final destination. Mine is Santiago. So from the airport, I came to where I am quarantined, and here I am on day 5, I believe. So I have about 5 more days. They will explain this to you, of course, when you're doing the health check. On the 7th day of quarantine, you can get a PCR test. Someone can come to your house and do the PCR test, and if you get your results back and they're negative before the 10th day, you are free to leave quarantine. PCR tests take about 3 days or 2 to 3 days, so it's up to you if you want to spend that extra money on taking the PCR test, knock off a day, maybe 2 days off of your quarantine. Personally for me, I'm just gonna stick it out. With the 10 days of quarantine, one thing to keep in mind if you are planning coming to Chile, for the first 10 days, you cannot do anything. You cannot leave the place you're quarantined. So if you're coming for 2 weeks, that means you only have 4 days to kind of explore the city or the area that you're in. So just keep that in mind as you're planning. If you are taking some sort of vacation here, it has to be for a longer period of time than a week or 2, because you have to complete that 10-day quarantine. So those are the tips. I just kind of want to give a little brief rundown of when they asked for all these documents. This time I was asked for some of my documents is actually when I checked in at JFK. The agent asked for a proof of my negative PCR test, and also asked to show the health affidavit. The health affidavit is it's an email with a QCR code that they will scan once you get into Chile. Those are the 2 things that the agent at JFK asked for. Again, if you don't have a seat number, just tell them that you don't have a seat number, so you did not fill it out. So maybe they'll give you 5 minutes, 10 minutes to fill out all the information that you need, so you can show them that health affidavit. The second time all of my documents were asked was when I was in Atlanta. So before we were allowed to board the plane in Atlanta, the agents asked everyone to come up. You had to make a line and show all 3 documents. You had to show your PCR test, you had to show that email that you completed the health affidavit, and you had to show proof of health insurance. Once you showed that and they looked at it, they drew a V on your boarding pass to say you were verified, and then you were allowed to board. And then the final time that all of the documents were asked again is when you arrived in Chile. So immediately when you get off the plane, you basically get on this line. I don't know other people's experience, but my experience, I had to wait about 2 to 3 hours online for them to check all of my documents. Once you do the health check, they check all of your documents. They will let you know that you will get an email every day, that you will do a self-report. So every day since Friday when I arrived, I have been getting an email where I have to do a self-report. The report is no more than 5 minutes. It asks 4 to 5 questions. If you have any symptoms, if you left the place that you've been quarantining at, or has that changed? Have you gotten a PCR test since you've arrived in Chile? So it's really easy, it's really simple, and you just have to fill it out every day. They will also mention there that if you forget to fill it out, or you don't fill it out at all in your 10 days of quarantine, you do risk the chance of getting fined or getting a visit to the place that you're quarantined. I've heard different stories on different Facebook groups. So far in my experience, I've just filled it out every day. I have not gotten a call or a visit. But just be a responsible traveler, and make sure you're doing what is asked of you when entering the country, and you should be fine. Another tip that I wanted to make sure I mention is make sure you read up on the rules and regulations. Obviously what one country is doing is not the same as another country, so just make sure that you research all of that. Where in Santiago you're staying, what are the restrictions and the rules in that area. Again, it's always best to be a smart and prepared traveler and to respect rules and regulations of that country, especially during these times. It's very different for different countries, and so just be respectful and be informed. If you have any questions about anything I mentioned in the video or about traveling to Chile, please leave that down below. If you are someone who has recently traveled to Chile during the pandemic and has any tips or advice, or want to share your experience of what that was like, you can also leave that down below. Please remember to be respectful, and please remember to follow the rules and the regulations of the country. So now, without further ado, here is my mini travel day vlog. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for watching.
It's our pleasure to welcome you here to Santiago. The local time, it's just about 70 minutes or so before 7 o'clock in the morning.